We are honored and privileged, Facebook family and the world. We're here in the gorgeous home mansion of the one and the only John Shin. Woo! I'm here with incredible Veronica Larrea as well.
Hi, everybody.
And we have an exciting interview with this incredible leader. He's a man of God. He's an abundant master. He's a sensei. He's a movie producer. He's an author, and he's a global speaker. And you're doing a massive tour next year. We're going to talk about that too. And we're going to talk about Think and Grow Rich and the things that you've learned along the way that you've used in such a way to become who you've become, the leader that you've become. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to be doing is, for us, all of us, and why we're tuning in, is this man is probably you're worth a lot of money, right? Yeah, right. So he's definitely merging into the billion-dollar status probably very soon. I would expect in the next 2 to 5 years. And it's not about money, but at the same time, this is something that we want to teach people to learn how to become more abundant, how to follow their path to success in life. So, John, I'm excited.
I'm thrilled.
We had an incredible meeting yesterday. We got to know you, your vision, your purpose. There were so many moments in that 3-hour conversation that I was just moved on levels that I feel like Barnes in that movie, Think and Grow Rich. Like I would travel across the country on a freight train to work with this man, because this is the modern day Edison in the financial industry. So how you doing, John?
I'm doing great. I mean, it's just, I was saying earlier that, when you wake up every day, I'm blown away, because it's just another day that you have a chance and got to take a breath. And the most awesome thing was to wake up every morning and look over to my right, and there's my wife sitting there. So
wow.
There she is.
There she is, yes.
So I do travel a lot, and it's like every morning you wake up, when you travel, when you wake up, and there's no one there. Your kids aren't there. They're not running around. They're not, making noise and screaming and yelling. And some people get annoyed by that, but that's just pure joy, right? When you have those little rascals running around, and they're like gremlins, and they multiply, right? Because
gremlins.
You're like, what's a gremlin? Yeah, go Google that one, But it's just exciting, It's exciting. So, and then of course to wake up and then get prepared for this moment right now, because I'm anxious, to see what this is all about, because over the last, I've been doing a lot of interviewing, and now I'm being interviewed, so yeah. So I feel a little vulnerable and being, okay, we're going to, I feel like, it's going to be an interrogation, and getting into my psyche.
Psyche, yes. And vulnerability is your power. Right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, what people relate to is challenges and tribulations that people have gone through, and then how they've overcome those and how they've achieved the level of success that you have. So the more vulnerable you are, the more we get to know what's really going on inside that makes you, the more we can actually learn. So that's exactly what this is going to be.
Cool.
It's going to be kind of like going in and learning what's going on, what makes you tick, what makes you think.
Okay.
And how can we all learn from that?
All right.
So Veronica.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, you guys. Every day when I wake up, it's just like John mentioned, you start from zero. Mm-hmm. For me, every day I wake up, it's like, oh my gosh, thank you for giving me this opportunity to wake up. And I'm enthusiastic, and right away, Kaya knows I just start to dance without music or with music, because life is just so precious, you guys. Yeah. For me, it's been not only an honor right now to be here, but it's actually a privilege to be able to be part of something bigger than just this particular moment in time, because it's so unique. For those of you that are here in tune, being present, you get to take notes. Today you actually get to have the juice from this amazing individual, this amazing leader that is going to give us what does it take for a human being, because we're all the same, right? We're one. What does it take for a specific human being to reach milestone after milestone after milestone? And every day is a bigger dream, it's a bigger vision, it's a bigger. And at the end of the day, it's not about the money, because the money is, like I always teach in the academy, It's the default of something great that we do when we come from a place of service. So stay tuned and let's continue with this amazing interview, you guys.
Yes, so excited. And you may be wondering, what is this?
Yes.
What is this?
It's
kind of like sort of a pyramid shape. I don't know. Maybe you've seen on the side of a building when they're building up a skyscraper, you've seen scaffolding, right? Scaffolding that holds up the man that's building. And so this is almost like scaffolding that supports the result. And at the top here is greatness. And what is the scaffolding? What is the support system? The different nuts and bolts that makes greatness, that achieves great results. And the very first step that we're going to start with is your vision.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question for you, and you shared with us, I was just blown away. What is your vision for yourself and what you want to contribute to the world? What's your vision?
I mean, there's so many things to that. I would say the first thing is poverty. I want to get rid of poverty in some way by educating people about money. So it's not necessarily me just going out there making money and handing it out to everybody, but it's educating people about how money works, right? So that is one of the most important elements, right? And then two is being in getting people to just be respectful to everyone, in all areas. And I think if you start to look at different, even spouses and relationships, if there's a lack of respect, then you start to mistreat each other. It's interesting when you go and meet somebody, they'll say, "What do you do?" And they'll say, "I'm a doctor." Oh, I'm going to respect this person at this level now, right? But if the person says, "What do you do?" and they go, "I'm a janitor or a shoe shiner," suddenly you're like, "Oh, a shoe shiner,"
Yes.
You're like down here, right? Because, that's not respectable. But, I have a tremendous amount of respect for that person who's saying, "Hey, I'm willing to go and do the dirty, right? And do whatever I do to put food on my table, put a roof over my head."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I respect everybody for who they are, but not what they do,
That's a beautiful
Wow,
thing.
that's
Yeah.
pretty different, you guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many of you guys come across people, even without being conscious? You have come across a client and you turn your way around because it didn't look like he might have what it takes to run business with you. So let's think about that.
Yeah, and the idea also that we're all spiritual beings living in human bodies, and in that level, we're all equal, we're all one.
That's right.
And that's what this interview is about too. It's how can we elevate humanity, and your model of greatness is something that we want to learn about. That being said, so we got vision. So I'm going to ask you 2 or 3 questions that may seem similar,
Okay.
and yet each word has a slightly different association in our brain. So you shared your vision.
Right.
So what would you say is your purpose?
So that's a question I get frequently. People always ask, "What is your purpose?" And how do you find your purpose? And I've heard so many, even other people have shared their definition of what your purpose is, right? And I believe that every person is born with purpose. So some people say, "Oh, that's so divine, that's so spiritual," but gosh, if you really sit there and think about it, where did we come from? I mean, where was the first man and woman created? I mean, somebody had to create us. I mean, we didn't just, and so, yeah, I'm a believer, and people say, "Well, what's your faith?" And, I am of Christian descent, okay? That doesn't mean, that I disrespect any other religions or other people who have faith or no faith or where they evolved from. But at the end of the day, you were created with a purpose. And they say that the 2 best days are the day that you're born, right? And the second day is the day you find your purpose.
Wow.
Okay? And so once you find out what that purpose is, people say, "Well, how do I find my purpose?" Well, one is you don't go finding purpose. Sometimes purpose finds you.
Yeah.
Other times you'll say, "Well, how can," I had a guy this weekend, I was at an event, and he says, "Well, how can I get purpose to find me faster?" You know what I mean? Because I like to find that purpose like today.
Yeah, today.
Right? I don't want to wait till I'm 60 to find that purpose, right? So purpose sometimes it'll find you when you're ready. Right? You may not always be ready to know your calling and your purpose day one, right? I get people always say to me when they're starting as an entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Like, I wish you would have told me this from day one. Well, you weren't ready day one. If I would have told you, right, as an entrepreneur and being a business person, sometimes you almost have to be like ignorant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To know what's down that journey. Because if I told you all the adversities you're going to face, then you know what? You may say day one, I'm not going to do it. Or hell no, I'm going to go back to a job, right? I'll collect my 9-to-5 paycheck or hourly pay, which that in itself is, people say, I want to be free. You live in the land of free, which is the greatest thing that this country offers us. And the men and women who have all lost their lives fighting for our freedom. And many people, and I don't care how you come to this country, if it takes you got to get on a boat, right? And they say FOB, oh, he's FOB, he's fresh off the boat. Well, you know what? Whether you came by a boat, whether you crossed over mountains, whether you crossed over a minefield, or you went through tunnels to get to this country, kudos to you. You know what I mean? Because you came here seeking what? Freedom. Most people say, well, I'll make this money, I'm going to go back to my country. You're lying. Right? Because you're not going to go back to your country, because if it was so great at your country, you would have never come here in the first place, right? So people come here for freedom. And so, you know what? Your purpose to be able to do whatever you want. When you get a job, to me, it's like legalized slavery. To someone to be the puppeteer of your life, okay, controlling you. Oh, hey boss, I'm gonna go. I need a break. Is there break time yet? And they get 15 minutes. The boss says, you got 15 minutes. Well, then you know what? You're in trouble, because what if you're constipated?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need more than 15 minutes.
You need more than 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're getting written up now, right? Yeah. If you want to take that first day with your child to school and come in late and be there in that classroom with your child the very first day, and your boss won't let you. Really? Like, you know, I want to go on a vacation and I want to spend time with my wife and my husband and my children or whoever, my parents, my sisters and brothers. But then you have to get permission to do that? I mean, come on. Your purpose is... You have to, John Maxwell said this, right? He said, you have to love what you do and do what you love. And when you find out what you love to do, you'll know, because every day you'll just do it because it's fun. You're passionate, right? You just stay up until midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning doing it. And you don't need an alarm clock to wake you up, because you wake up in the morning fired up to do it again. And then when you love what you do and decide that you will somehow help people with what you do, right? Then on the back end, you will get rewarded in different ways. So it's you get rewarded not just financially, right? But how you feel, because people have an addiction to things. So a lot of people pop pills, drugs, alcohol, syringes, whatever they got to do to have that feeling. But you don't need all those kind. You can have the Heavenly Father wired you with different hormones that we can get into, it, serotonin and this and all that kind of stuff, that gets released into your body when you actually go do good, when you do good things for people. So when you open the door for somebody, you know what I mean? Oh my God, thank you. Like you feel like, oh yeah, like I hope this old lady, oh man, I feel good. Those are natural highs. You know what I mean? So
great information.
Yeah.
When you were talking about you got to be ready, so that the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah,
right?
Sensei is here.
Sensei is here. He's waiting on you, and being ready, being open, being receptive.
Right.
So yeah, and I'm loving this because you're sharing what you think people should do.
Yeah.
And that's very valuable. And today we're going to dive in a little bit more into yourself and what you do and the I.
Okay.
And so as we continue to go through the questions, I'm going to invite you to kind of go from the I, right? So then we get an actual idea of not necessarily what you teach others, which I'm sure it's completely the same as what you do, but a little bit more of what I think and what I do.
Okay.
In that way, we're going to get an even more precise understanding of your model.
Okay.
Because sometimes there are things that we teach and we don't even know what we do and how we do it. Sometimes it's just unconscious or subconscious. We do it without even thinking. It's just we're naturally wired that way and we learned it. And so by going with I, there may be things that you share with us that you didn't even discover that you do. And so what is your motivation? So you would answer from the I perspective.
I wanted to be wealthy monetarily, right? So I wanted to I wanted money. Now, I didn't need to be a billionaire, right? But I wanted to have enough money where I was tired of going to restaurants and having to read the menu from right to left, right? And that's not an Asian thing from reading it from right to left, right? I'm talking, I always went and looked at the price, and I would look at something. I actually went to something, I was like, $40 for a steak? I'm like, are you kidding? I can go to Vaughn's, right, and I can buy that steak for $6 and smack some, garlic and some salt and pepper on it with some A1 sauce, and all is good. I don't need $40. But, I mean, that's how I was thinking, and I wanted to have nice cars. I wanted to have a nice home. So that was, some things, when you say my motivation. But then at the end of that, well, it wasn't so much the money that I wanted, right? But it was, because who wants $1 million that you can't touch? I wanted the $1 million for what it was going to provide, right? And what I was going to do with it. And the number one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that my mother and my father were going to be taken care of, right? Because I've seen my mom tell me, she said, we did not come to this country to screw up this opportunity, right? We didn't come here, with no purpose. We came here to live the dream, right? To have freedom and all that kind of stuff. And what do? They ended up working 2-3 jobs, right? And they there were days like we would go to church in the morning and then we'd all go to lunch afterwards. And we finally get our food, and just as my dad's to take his first bite, he had a little pager, and his pager would go off. And he would go and make a phone call at a payphone, which some people don't even know what that is, because, and he would say, okay, and he was, he had to go to the hospital to work. Well, then we had to take all our food to go. We got there, while he was working, we sat and ate our Sunday lunch in our car. And I kept on saying, why are we living like this? No one else does this. I don't see anybody else eating in their cars, you know what I mean? But my parents did all that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to, and they worked so hard. They had liquor stores, dry cleaning, delis, everything, you know what I mean? And they're working 7 days a week. So when I saw them work as hard as they did, I said, gosh, I can't imagine when my mom or my dad, right, if they were to die, all they saw was war, hatred, communism, right? And then they come here. Which
country were your parents from?
They came from South Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah, right. I used to say just Korea, but I say South now because I know people have been watching the news and then they go, oh, you're with and I'm like, no, that's the North, but we came from the South, okay? So I don't want anybody egging me, when I'm in the public or something.
But so even if you did come from North Korea, you're still a human being.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you have to do with someone else's? What do you have to do with someone else's politics?
Yeah, and so we didn't end up in Beverly Hills, you know, and Brentwood and Bel Air and Calabasas. We ended up in East LA, right? Over just a few blocks away from the original Tommy's Burger.
Wow.
And we had bars on our windows. I mean, we didn't even open up windows in our house. We had 6 door locks, deadbolts that were going in case somebody broke into our house. So we're still living in what? Fear. Yeah. Because we're in a foreign country, we don't have any family. And so I had to tell myself my motivation was to put my family in a better place, my parents in a better place. I wanted them to be free, and I didn't want them to stress out about money.
Yeah. The motivation, and as a success coach and, leader yourself, motivation and your why is huge. And, people say your why should make you cry, right? If your why doesn't make you cry, it doesn't move you emotionally, then it's probably not enough to take you to the level of greatness. And so this leads perfectly into the next question, and that is, most people when they wake up, they are in a certain state, whatever that state is. I would say perhaps many people in the world wake up in fear, stress, anxiety, worry, doubt, concern. Why? Because of their situations, right? Their financial situation, maybe someone in their family, ill health, how are they going to provide, what's happening with the country, the government, and so forth. And usually we've discovered successful people wake up in empowered emotions. And so I'm curious, when you wake up every day, that would be part one. And part two, when you go and do share your gift with the world. So it may be when you get on stage and share, when you impact people's lives, or when you show up at your office and you see the eyeballs of all these young leaders and millennials that you want to, empower. What are the emotions that you experience, that you frequent when you wake up in the morning and when you walk out on stage and share your vision? Emotions. So emotions being not thoughts. We're getting to that. Being actual emotions. And I won't share with you what those are. You can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've ever actually sat there and examined my actual emotions per se, right? But if I look at it every single day when I wake up, I think I'm anxious. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to attack it. I'm like, all right, I got to get things done fast. I have this urgency kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like I'm wasting time. There's so much to do in so little time. So I'm in this fast, we got to go. You know what I mean? Kind of mode.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
And what have you noticed, because you've met and you've impacted thousands of people's lives. What have you noticed in the greater population is the emotions that they frequent, and or you mentioned you have a sense of urgency. And what have you noticed regarding rigor, urgency in other people, and the gap or the difference between the way you experience and what their experience is?
I think most people feel like they have an abundance of time. Like they can, they wait forever to get something done. And what I see is, I always see what I can accomplish when my wife and I are ready to go on a trip. Right? We're going to leave on Thursday and we're coming back on Monday. We're going to do a little 4-day retreat with the two of us. What we have to do Monday through Wednesday, we get more done in those 3 days before we leave on Thursday. Does that make sense, right? Than we have done in 2 weeks. Because we know we're going to be missing out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know what I mean? So we get so much more done. And I thought to myself, wow, I did all this in such a short period of time. Well, what if I took that standard and applied it if it was like that every day?
I heard a quote once, probably from our mutual friend. I think it was from our mutual friend, Bob Proctor. He said, work goes to fill the time allotted for the work. So if you give yourself 6 months, 8 months, 9 months to lose 20 pounds, it will take you 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. If you give yourself 3 months to do it, right? So a sense of urgency. And that's really, really huge, because I don't think people completely understand that there is a speed, there is a intensity, there is a urgency to living a life. You could have all the skills, the mindset, the tools. However, if you're missing that one piece, which is urgency,
right?
But not urgency from panic. Clearly, it's not from panic.
No.
It's more from, I gotta go. It's more of a positive, excited urgency, as opposed to a panic, angry, frustrated urgency.
Yes.
Perfect.
And the urgency for me is, and gosh, I know it's about
yes,
but I like to put deadlines on myself, right?
Yes.
And deadlines are important because, in fact, the government even has a deadline for when you're supposed to file your taxes, right? So if the government came to you and said, you can file your taxes anytime you'd like.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the likelihood people would file their taxes? Yeah, they would never do it, right? But all of a sudden, it's like amazing how many people in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days, they're now calling their accountant and CPA to get things done. And so I see that. I witnessed what they accomplished in that period of time when they all said, well, I don't know if I can get it done, but they get it done. Right? And so I've always put a specific deadline when I'm going to accomplish this thing. And I give that deadline to my wife, my children, and my staff and my team to let them know this is our cutoff time. So we have a sense of urgency.
Do you have deadlines for, obviously, business, your goals, your vision? Do you have deadlines for other things as well?
Absolutely.
In other words, do you have deadlines for what would be something completely non-business related, non-vision, career-related that you also have a deadline on that helps people realize I should have my whole life designed around deadlines?
Well, so so I did a movie, and the director basically put me in front of the camera, and the camera, depending on which kind of cameras they are, they'll actually put a little bit of weight to you, right? And so they add a few extra pounds, and he looked at me and he says, John, he says, we need you to lose some weight.
Oh, wow.
And because you look a little bit bigger on the screen.
Right.
And I said, okay. And he says, I need you to get it done by this day. Mm-hmm. And I went, there's no way. The first time I was like, how am I going to get that done? He says, I don't know about how, but you will get it done.
Yes.
Okay? That is in your contract.
Yeah.
So I have an agreement, a contractual agreement that I have to get it done. Mm-hmm. And so I lost the weight and I look good, or I look not good, but I look better, on the screen, but I got it done, And so I was like, wow, I mean, if I can get that done, why couldn't someone else get it done? And at the end of the day, getting that sense of urgency required discipline.
Discipline.
Absolutely.
Yes, discipline. Let me write that down too. Discipline.
And as Kai is writing down, you guys, and you listen to John's wisdom, let's think about how we show up for the world, how we show up for ourselves. How urgent are you with your deadlines? How urgent are you of getting your license for the thing that you want to do? How urgent are you on actually saving the money so you can go purchase your house? How urgent are you to return those phone calls to the clients? How urgent are you?
And you may have heard me say before, the embedded command, shall I say it? When is now the time? Mm-hmm. When is now the time? For you to be, right? Mm-hmm. For us to be who we're designed to be.
That's right.
Like wait till like 80 years old when my quality of life is whatever, or 90 or 100. Why not right now? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited, yes. So emotions, let's go to the next one, which is, and people, when they hear values, most of the time they think of cultural values in, family values and so forth. And I don't know if they fully understand what values are or what they do. Mm-hmm. You as a study of all this know that values drive our behavior. Mm-hmm. Values determine what we focus on, where we put our time, energy, resources into. Mm-hmm. What we value is what is important to us. Mm-hmm. So I guess a good question would be from the perspective of because not everybody is starting at the level where you're at now. Mm-hmm. So maybe for the average folk, they're making between 50 to 100 to 150, maybe even less. We go to school teachers, maybe even less. But the average person's probably making around that range in Northern America, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And so I could ask you what your values are today that help you achieve your greatness. I'd like to take a step back in time just a little bit as to what were the values, what was most important to you, not necessarily your why and your motivation, but the values where you put most of your focus. A little early on, where you really rised up in your business and success. So what was most important to you?
Oh gosh, I think one of the main values is what my mother used to say to me. When people say, who are your mentors? It's interesting how many people will mention someone else's names other than their own parents. Mm. So, they'll say, it was this author or it was this coach that I met at this. Fortunately for me, I think my parents were my number one role models, right? Or mentors. And the one thing that she always said is that you have to be number one. You got to be number one. And she did not have standards of average. She had standards of excellence. So for her, if I came home and I said, Mom, I got a B, on math or spelling or English, her thing was, well, why didn't you get an A? Mm. I said, yeah, but Mom, but Charlie got a C, and David got what? A D, and Frank got an F. And she said, I don't care what other people. You don't compete with other people. You compete with you.
Can you say that again?
She says, you don't compete with other people. You compete with you, right? Because you're your own worst enemy. You know what I mean? You're the one who's hindering your own growth. So for you to sit there and say, well, you got to be because everybody else got a C, D, and an F. She says, I don't care what other people did. What can you do? She says, because those people you don't know, maybe they don't have a house. Maybe they're going through some emotional trauma. Maybe they just lost their mother or their father. Maybe they got other things that are happening. But what about you? You know, oh, great, thank you. Right? Well, you don't have any of those things going on. So what's your excuse? You should be getting an A.
I love that, because when you think about the world we live in today, everybody is preoccupied with everybody and everything else.
That's right.
And not focused on themselves, not focused on what they're doing, focused on others. And it's almost as if, it's an excuse, right? It's an excuse to focus on what other people do. And so you learn that level of accountability. You have to be number one.
Right.
I'm going to ask you an interesting question about that.
So you know what I would actually do?
Yeah.
I would actually call my competitors and say, so what are you doing next year for vacation? You got any trips in plan? They said, oh yeah, we're going here for 2 weeks. We're going here for 3 weeks. We're going here for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And I knew that when they told me that, those were the weeks that I was going to work.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I wanted to make sure that I was out working everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? So it was awesome to figure out where they're at, because I already knew my competition. I knew I had them beat. Because one thing I knew is that nobody was going to outwork me. I was making phone calls last night. Okay, Saturday night. What are most people doing Saturday night? They're calling their friends. Hey, what movie do you want to go see? Where are we going for dinner? What club do you want to go to? They're staying up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? And listen, I don't mean to offend anybody, but you're at a party. Right. Okay, well that's great, because most people are sitting there trying to plan for their weekends, right? Where I'm planning for the future of where this country is going, right? And so I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning, right? But then guess what? People say I need my 8 hours. Well, I don't have time to sleep, right? So I'm not gonna wake up at 2 and say because I need my 8 hours. I still had an appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I took a nap. Okay, and then I went at it. Starting at 9 o'clock, I went all day, nonstop. And then we worked all through Sunday, right? When you got the church thing in the morning. But what do you do after church? Most people are out shopping. For what? What are you going shopping for? And I hear people say, I don't know, I'm just going to look. Well, guess what? When you're just going to look, you're going to buy impulsively. And so that's not what I'm doing. I know when I go to a store, I go right in there and I pick up what I need and I walk out. I don't go down every aisle. I don't go through the whole mall. Okay. I go in there and I pick it up and I buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And this is why I like Amazon. Because Amazon kind of does it all for you, right? You go in there and you buy. But then they know suggestive selling, don't they, right?
Oh,
right.
yeah.
If people who bought this also bought boom, 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 and you're so anxious to get that package in the mail. But, I just want to be going nonstop. No distractions. No distractions.
As we're going through this, you are a producer of this new movie, Think, Grow Rich, The Legacy.
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which is an incredible movie. As you're watching this on Facebook Live, definitely check that out. How can they see that, by the way?
They can just go to johnshinmovie.com. And you might even go, oh my God, this is $100 movie, and it's not $100 movie. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can I think buy for like $10 for the movie. You download and you can watch it on your computer. But a lot of people said, I wish I could have seen Rob Dyrdek's entire interview. I wish I would have been able to see Barbara Corcoran's entire interview and Bob Proctor's entire interview. And you have that. But you'd have to get the higher packages. If you want to see the entire content, and there's just hours and hours. There's probably 12 hours of content, the behind the scenes, the making of, some excerpts there from the director and what was going through his mind and how he wanted to take this book and put it on a theatrical screen. So yeah, you just get, it depends on what you want out of the movie.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm bringing up the movie is certainly everybody should go see it. And then also one of the chapters I know in the original book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about men very rarely succeed until a certain age. And I think it was between 40 to 60. And he called it the golden age, where he said that most men prior to the age of 40 are spending most of their time focused on other things, other distractions. And we can guess what some of those may be.
Sure.
And they're not focused on building their business. So what occurred to me when you were saying, I'm calling my competitors and finding out when they're going on holiday, because when they're going on holiday and getting involved in just fun and play and distractions, you're working.
Right. Yeah.
Have you encountered that? Do you believe that it takes, and you know, I'm sure when he talked about men, he meant people, right? It wasn't just men. It's probably men, women, just in general.
Everyone.
Have you encountered that people, it takes a certain amount of time for people to mature, where they start to see what is important for them to get about doing? Do you find it's a certain age, or do you feel that I'm not asking you whether it's true. People can wake up when they're 20 and decide they want to create their future, but it seems like it takes a level of maturity, and that maturity does come with age.
I'm gonna say no.
Awesome.
Okay, right?
No excuses.
Yeah.
Don't use age as an excuse.
Don't use age as an excuse. Yes, because and again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? But for me, I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to tell you why. I have seen 9-year-olds, right, and 12-year-olds act and behave like they're 45. You know, and I've seen a bunch of 55-year-olds that act like they're 3 and 5, right? Because you know, it's about your experiences. And I apologize in advance, but I shouldn't be apologizing. But some of what's going on in our society today is the parents have literally sheltered their own children to being exposed to the real world, right? And I understand it. You know, it's like 30 years ago, you let your child run out on the street and play ball, and you know, they got their skateboards and their bicycles and their BMX bikes, and they didn't come home until 9 or 10 o'clock.
Right.
Great. But what parent does that now? You know, what parents, parents are now, just take the bus, walk home. You know, and there are still children who do that. But that's just scary. I mean, I rather not take the chance. I'm going to go pick my kid up and say, I'm going to be right here on your campus picking you up. And we've sheltered our children to being exposed to the big bad world. Now, there are certain kids who are like 8 years old, and they've already become mom at age 8 to their little siblings because mom and dad were off working. So that little 8-year-old now has a different maturity, right, than the person who has never had a child. I got 8-year-olds changing diapers, and so that person's maturity is going to be different. Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he's 66 years of age, right? But hey, he didn't sit there and say age is going to stop me, back then. So I think it's just a matter of your how you're being raised and your life experiences. Personally, I think a lot of people in America haven't gone to war and they haven't served in militaries. In other countries, you are forced to be in a military for 2, 3, 4 years.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And so they're getting exposed to the big bad world. They're being held to standards and boot camps and stuff like that. So,
What I love about this topic on values, you guys, there's a couple of things that are, it's kind of like under layer with John's talking about being number one since he was a child. And one of the things that I resonate right now is for you to be number one is the highest standard for yourself. But there also is a conversation of self-worth. So when I heard John saying, my mother said this about me, that means she had it in herself to have the extreme and epic self-worth. Therefore, we get to teach others, not only ourselves, but our siblings, our partners, or spouses. When we see them going out of character, we get to be compassionate and loving and bring it up to their attention, saying, honey, that's not you. you're worth more than that. And then step up the game, both in emotional state and also in economical state. So what's the next thing?
Beautiful.
Kaya?
Yes.
All right. So the next one is behavior.
Big one, guys.
So we are going to get into an aspect of behavior a little bit down the road called habits. But before we get to habits, behavior, we find that many people say they're going to do something. Their words come out. I'm going to wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to make all these calls. I'm going to become a millionaire. But at 12 noon, they're still in bed. All right. I'm going to get lean and healthy, but yet, part of me wants to eat burgers all day.
Right.
So what are the behaviors that you do? Maybe consistent behaviors. Not so much actions. We'll get to that too, but behaviors. What comes to mind? Behaviors in the way that you go about your model of greatness.
So when you talk about my behaviors, like my personal action and what I do every day, so I would say that this is brutal, but I punish myself, right? So there was a time in my career where when we were married, it was late at night. It was about 11 o'clock. And my wife said, "Are you coming home?" And I said, "No, I'm not coming home." And then at 1 o'clock, she says, "Are you coming home?" And I said, "No, I'm not coming home." She says, "Why aren't you coming home?" And I said, "I'm not coming home because I didn't make a sale today." And she says, "So what, are you going to just punish yourself?" And I said, "No, I need to get results before I'm entitled to come home and sleep and be, all that kind of stuff." So he's like, "Well, where are you going to go right now at 1 o'clock in the morning?" And I said, "There's someone's awake right now. I'm not the only one awake. There are people awake right now at 1 o'clock. She says, "Where are you going to go?" So I said, "I'm going to go to Denny's."
Wow.
She says, "Oh, you're going to go to Denny's?" Like, yeah, there's people there. I can go and prospect them there, and I can walk up to them. If they're there at 1 o'clock in the morning at Denny's, they're just as crazy as I am. So I would walk over to people at Denny's, like, "Excuse me, you guys don't know me, but listen, I'd love to buy your breakfast if you guys give me like 10 minutes, I want to just show you guys what I do. And I think that what I'm going to share with you in the next 10 minutes is going to change your life." I'm so excited about this. I can't even sleep. I'm sitting in a Denny's with my head spinning. So can I share this with you guys? They go, "Sure." So I started presenting to them, and I got their phone number and then turned them into a client. Eventually, when I came into that Denny's, they said, "John, sorry, but we just got told by management you can't come to this Denny's anymore."
Then you went to the next Denny's.
So I went to the next Denny's. You're not going to stop me. You're not the only Denny's in town. So I went to another Denny's, right? And then eventually, Denny's Corporation sent out an all points bulletin: "Do not let this guy in. He will harass your clients." I said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that's fine." I said, "I'm not going to Denny's. You know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to IHOP, International House of Pancakes. I'm going to have me a set of pancakes, right? And I'm going to go and talk to people there." And then they said, "Oh," and then that's what I started to do.
Wow.
Eventually, the IHOP put out an all points bulletin and said, "Don't let this guy in." They literally had I walked in, I saw my picture, and I'm like, "What's my picture doing on the wall? Don't let this guy in if he comes here in IHOP." I was banned from IHOP and I was banned from Denny's.
Wow.
So I'm driving by, and so eventually, I'm punishing myself because I don't deserve to come home, right? So finally, I says, "Okay, so now where do we go for Sunday?" I'm like, "It doesn't matter. We'll go somewhere else, for Sunday breakfast or whatever." But now it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And she says, "Okay, so you didn't make a sale today, so you're going to punish yourself." I go, "Absolutely." I used to have shirts and extra suits hanging on the back of my door. My toothbrush, my shaving kit was in my drawer. And then she says, "Okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Where are you going to go? You can't go to Denny's and you can't go to IHOP." I said, "I don't know, but I'll find something." So I'm driving by and I see this big old light and it's blinking 24 hours.
Mel's.
And I pull in. And I said, "Honey, I found another place. It's 24 hours." And it said emergency. So I pulled into a hospital. And I parked my car. I walked up to the front counter, and the security guard says, "Sir, there's no visitation rights at this time." And I said, "Oh, I'm not here to visit. I'm actually here to work. I actually have to go to the maternity level. I'm the financial guy handling everybody's retirement accounts."
I love it.
And they said, "Oh, well, we'll give you a guest pass." Yeah, and it gives me a pass. I stuck it on there, and I walked up to the 6th floor or whatever it was. And I walked in there. I said, "Hi, where would you like me to get set up?" And they go, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm the guy who's doing all your financial plans." And so I was told to get set up somewhere. And they said,
love
oh, well, we'll put you in the doctor's lounge. So I go into the doctor's lounge, I open up my computer, and I'm now doing what? Every 10, 15, 30 minutes, they're sending clients in there.
Wow.
I love it.
And so when people say I was lucky, what kind of luck is that? I just made a decision that I'm not coming home until I make a sale. I don't deserve to go and party and enjoy a nice big steak dinner. You don't deserve it. But I'll tell you what, when I did produce and I'm writing a ton of business, then I reward myself. And when I do reward myself, I reward myself big time. You know, we take some really nice trips with the wife and the kids and things like that. So those are my behaviors.
That's huge. This sort of reminds me, and I won't go into it right now too much, but the story of the famous director of Jaws, Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Do you know about what
Steven
happened?
Spielberg is
Yes.
amazing.
You
Yeah.
heard the story?
No, tell me what's
he
the
was
story.
well, just real quick. He went on a tour bus to Universal Studios as a tourist, and he had a little bag or suitcase with a suit and everything packed in it. And then when the tour people went on the tour, he sneaked in bathroom, put on a suit, and would hang out with the producers. Then on his way out, he would wave goodbye to the security guy, and he did this tour bus thing every single day for 30 days. To a point where the security guy just assumed he's on the lot. So then he would come on the lot in his suit, and the guy goes, oh, I know, and he'll let Steven in. And then he actually saw one of the offices on the Universal Studios lot vacant, and he went in and he said, "Where's my name? Where's my badge? Where's my door sign?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah, I've leased this office. Where's my door sign?" And he starts chewing him out. So then they send him a door sign with his name. And he actually occupies an office inside Universal Studios that wasn't even his. And then he ends up meeting the person who was the producer of Jaws, who they had another big director working on. And they said, oh, we can't have you because we got this other director. But that other director quit. And then eventually he got the movie.
Wow.
And, you know, this story, it's so amazing what you share because I don't think anybody knows this. I mean, have you written this in a book? What you actually went through?
No.
No one knows this. And I don't think anybody really knows really what it takes.
That's right.
The mindset that it takes. You talk about punish, the level of the standard that you held yourself to. You're not even allowing yourself to sleep, go home, be around your wife, your kids, unless you produce. That level of self-accountability is I would say, perhaps, I'm going to say, just based on what I've heard already, probably one of the biggest things to your model of success, because it's so rare, that level of standard that you hold yourself to. And where did you learn that from? Was that again from your parents?
I think so, because, you know, they didn't come. You know, my dad used the analogy about a hunter. You know, in the old days, they would hunt. And the men went out there with the tribe and they would hunt for food and bring it back. But they didn't come back home until they brought what? Food home. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, right?
No, that hits
And
home.
it was interesting. I went to Texas one time. Well, I've been to Texas several times. I love Texas. And we landed. It was pretty late. And so by the time we landed, I had my entire crew with me and my team, and we had not eaten. The food in the airplane was terrible. And so we get there, and everybody says, let's get something to food. And the people who picked us up said, everything is pretty much closed. And so one of the guys on my team says, well, is there a Chinatown here in Texas? And he says, yeah, there's a Chinatown. You know, it's on this side or whatever. And it's like, well, let's just go there. And they said, why? And they said, because they're open. All Chinatown places are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. On Christmas, if you have nowhere to go to Chinatown. They're open, right? Thanksgiving Day, you go to Chinatown. And the idea, and I said, so I asked this one person one time, you know, who comes from a Buddhist background. I said, why do you guys work 7 days a week, 365 days? And their attitude is that if you don't work, you don't get to eat.
You don't get to eat. Yeah. And why do you think, just philosophically, why do you think so many people that are in that position that don't even have food on the table still struggle with the concept that they got to go work for it?
Say that one more time.
In other words, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Right.
That makes sense. And yet for some people, they're still stuck, not working to eat.
Okay, so why don't they go work, right? Well, I think a lot of these people there's several factors. I mean, there's not just one, but there's several factors that contribute to why people are failing, or people say, the number one thing I hear people say is the fear of failure. You know what I mean? Okay, well, if I told you, I guarantee you at the end of 1 year, you're going to make $1 million. You're not going to fail, because if you stick around for a year, I'm going to give you $1 million. You're guaranteed $1 million. You know what I mean? But they still won't do all the work to get to that $1 million at the end of the year, right? And so a lot of people have a limited capacity, right, to where they're trying to go. A lot of people, they're like, John, how do you handle this and how do you handle that? You got so many things going on. You're like multitasking. And I said, because I have a large capacity. And you have very limited capacity. So we need to increase your capacity and get you to understand there is an abundance of resources for you to become financially independent, but you have chosen the decisions you've made, right? You've chosen to watch TV instead. So what's interesting is when I talk to somebody, I don't even have to watch the news. I don't watch the news. I don't go to Yahoo Negative News or CNN or whatever it is to find out what's going on. People tell me, because what are they doing? We're in a world today that everywhere you turn, it's just negative stuff being put into your head. If you go to the news, right, on TV, we already know what's going to happen. Somebody got raped, some kid got abducted, it's another stab at a politician, we're at war with another country, somebody's house burned down, somebody got shot. I mean, it's like, okay, great. So then you turn to what? Online news. Great, same thing. Go to internet news, same thing. Go watch the newspapers, same thing. And it's just constant negative news. And then where you go? You go and spend 8 hours a day at your job. And how excited are people at their jobs? They're all negative, right? And then, so you're just constantly what? Just pounded every day, every hour, every second with just negativity. So you have to go and plug into someone who's going to empower you and lift you up. And then, but they don't want to go to that. Yeah. It's really interesting. Someone came to my office one time and they said, I said, how'd you like the meeting in my office, man? And they said, it was really weird. And I was like, weird? I go, why? I'm sorry. Why was it so weird? And he goes, just everybody was so happy. And everybody was so nice. And I go, and that's weird now, right? Because
compared to
if I'm happy and I'm nice, that's weird. But if I'm a jerk,
well, it is weird because it's not.
That's normal.
Not the norm.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, that's what's been created, because being a jerk is called now being bold or authentic.
Right.
Being a bully means you're standing for yourself. So it's just different standards. What I love about this topic on behaviors is what I heard from you is what Jocko Willings talked about, which is a U.S. former Navy SEAL. He has a book called The Extreme Ownership. And extreme ownership is exactly what you just described right now, where you took your ownership of your responsibility as a man first, then as a husband, then as the professional, because you get to contribute back to that office wherever you were located, because someone else already paved the road for John in those days, right? Just like you are paving the road for so many millions. You have opened the door in different branches of businesses, different industries, but you just didn't wake up one day like a unicorn and say, voila, I have everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's taking that extreme ownership on how you behave. What is your thinking? What is your train of thought every day? How do you communicate with the people that are surrounding around you? How loving, how you caring are you? Do you actually care? So extreme ownership on behavior has been the one that is giving you your results. I mean, if you really think about it, Kaya, and our students, how many we can say, including you and I, have ever done that, staying back in the office? As you're saying this, I remember having extreme ownership in my 20s because there was a sense of urgency. And I will just not go home. I will stay with Richmond American Homes, shout out to Richmond American Homes, from December 27 to November 2nd in the building. And I will go across the street in a hotel, sleep 2 hours, 3 hours, come back and continue auditing. Why? Because no one else will do it. So that's extreme ownership. So I didn't get to see my 2-year-old baby growing up for the first 5 years. So there are sacrifices to be done, and it's okay. What is the next topic, Kaya? I'm just curious because this is just getting so intense.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add, I think a lot of those behaviors are also, obviously the media is not going to love what I'm going to say,
Yeah.
but I mean, not that I want to poke at you in the public media and TV and wherever else.
Oh,
but,
why not?
but
Please do.
if you're going to go and post all the negative things online on your sites,
Yeah.
why can't you post some of the positive things that are going on as well? Because there are good things happening in our communities, and there's good people doing great things and extraordinary things for people. But if we want to post that, we have to pay you to post those good things that are being done in our community. But you'll post negative things for free. So I think it's all about what the media, that's right. It's about the money.
Yeah.
And
People watch, people. So the world is unfortunately, right, somewhat run by fear, right? Everything's run by this fear, right? So fear mongering. The more they post that, it's more what people pay attention to. They panic and they pay attention to.
Right.
Oh my gosh, a fire! I need to pay attention to this. Oh my God, this swine flu, this flu, the Ebola, which all the BS that's
Right.
out there. That's none of it's real. It makes money because people watch, and so we got to change this whole thing, and that's why we're excited to be working with you and help you with your vision.
And that brings us to the
And
next
that brings us to habits. So what are the daily habits? Again, maybe they're things you do today. I'm more curious about the things that you did perhaps as you rose, right? You're at a pretty high level in life, and I know you're going even higher. But as you're rising, the habits that you did on a daily basis, and one could also correlate them to rituals. When we say rituals, we mean things that we do on a daily basis that primes us, that gets us ready. The meditation, the going and exercising, the looking in the mirror and saying affirmations to yourself, or whatever the things that you did.
Right.
So what are the habits or rituals that you do or have done every day that have set you up to win?
I think another reason why people fail in life is what you just said, is habits, because we are creatures of habits. In fact, if you look at what you do every single day, what most people do is they wake up on the same side of the bed. They brush their teeth the same way. They put on their clothes the same way. They wash and dry their hair the same way every single day. They get in their car and they drive on the same lane. They get on the same freeway. And then they're in that lane, getting off on the same exit, and then you get to your job, and you generally will park your car in the same spot. And you're going to be pissed off, and you're angry when someone is in your parking spot. It's not even reserved for you, but it's your parking spot, right? Because you've been doing that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and we are a creature of habit. We go to restaurants, typically order the same food. Okay? You don't even have to look at the menu. You go to a movie theater, you're typically sitting in the same section, generally speaking. And so we are creatures of habit. And so all of a sudden, we don't want change. But habits are critical. You have to change, because the habits you've created that haven't served you have to change. And so it's going to be a little bit different, but those different things are going to help you to achieve your next level. So for me, I did martial arts for 20 plus years, right?
Ah.
And so ever since I was 5 years old, and I didn't go into martial arts because I wanted to be a bully and beat people up and kick the crap out of them and all that kind of stuff. But more is to protect myself was initially. People say, I went to martial arts school to be a study of the way of the martial arts. No, basically I went to martial arts because I got bullied. I got my butt kicked. And, I was thrown into the river, right? They took my bike. They bent my wheels so I couldn't ride back home. And I've had my nose bloody, black eye, a couple of times they even took my shirt off my back, right? And started laughing and just, they're just humiliated. Mm-hmm. And so when I come home and tell my mother this, she says, we got to put you in martial arts. Mm-hmm. That's what I went to martial arts for. So I started when I was 5 years old. Wow. And I did that for 20 years, so I was 25.
So definitely black belt,
Yes, I went to all the
the
World
levels.
Games and competed. The
Wow.
whole shebang. Went to the 88 Olympic trials and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. And so, yes, I can still do splits and kick and all that kind of stuff.
can still do splits
Oh,
and
yeah, but
kick?
I just can't. I just don't have the speed. You know what I mean?
The fact that
Yeah.
you can still do splits.
Oh, I stretch out every single day.
Oh, wow.
And when you talk about habits, it's because that's what I did. You know, every single day you come to we call it the dojang, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing we did for about 30 minutes is what we did was we stretched out. And then what's interesting is we did the same kick, the same punch, the same block over and over and over and over. And can you imagine doing that every single day, Monday through Saturday, for 20 years,
That's called
right?
repetition.
Exactly.
Creates-
And then the one time I wouldn't go, I felt so guilty. Like I didn't even know what to do with myself because I had created that habit of going all the time. And I didn't feel right. It's like going to the gym, right? When you're going to the gym all the time and you're working out and you get those hormones going and you're releasing all those right types of hormones in your body, if you don't go, you start to feel weird that you didn't go to the gym that day.
Yeah.
You know, like you almost have to go. Like it's just, those habits are critical. And then all of a sudden, once you develop those habits, you kick, you block, you punch, all just by
Unconscious.
instincts. Yeah, I don't have to think about it. My hand just goes up.
Yeah.
It's just, my feet goes up. You know, it's an instinct that happens.
I
You know?
heard a story about Bruce Lee that he made his impulses, his reactions so instinctual that he would practice sleeping, like face down, and then have 4 or 5, friends or adversaries come and attack him from different angles where he couldn't see them. And so he had to find a way to react very quickly.
Sure.
By just the years and years and years of practice to a point where now you're literally bulletproof. There's really nothing that you can be surprised with. So I'm not surprised that martial arts probably has played a very big role
It did.
in your habits and your discipline, that you mapped it across to business. So just before we jump to the next thing, I know Veronica wants to share something too. Is there anything else that you got from martial arts beyond the habits, the discipline that has helped you with greatness in business?
Absolutely. Patience. Because, and more today, patience is so important because we're now living in a society where everything has to be instantaneous, right? Everything is now. You know, if you look at television and how we change the channels on TV, most of us had a big TV console that was just a big old box thing in our family room. And to turn the channel, you had to walk up to it, turn the channel, and then walk back to your seat. And then go back up and turn the channel, come back to your seat. And eventually that little plastic knob broke off. And mom or dad was like MacGyver, right? They got real creative, and they didn't go buy a new plastic knob. They went and got a pair of pliers and stuck it on there, and then we turned the little thing with some pliers. Does that make sense, right?
Yeah.
And today we have over 1,000 TV channels. We can sit back and just zoom through
Crazy.
TV channels, and people say it's TV so slow. Or internet is slow. Compared to what? Because I grew up in the 1990s with dial-up modem.
Yes.
Right? What does dial-up modem mean? You plugged your computer with an Ethernet cable, and it sounded like your computer was possessed by poltergeist.
Yeah.
Right? Remember, it made that obnoxious noise. Right?
Yeah.
You know, for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, we're connecting
Yeah.
to where? They go, the World Wide Web. And you're like, what is
Wow.
that? Cyberspace. You're like, whoa, what is that? And kids today go like, oh, my internet's so slow. You know, yeah, you're getting 400 download, or, you know, and and that's slow compared to what, you know? So, yeah, microwaves are slow now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want food instantaneously. We just want to pull up.
Right.
Number 2.
They want to nuke it.
Yeah, you know
and
what
you
I
want
mean?
to eat the food that you nuke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, that's why it comes out tasting like rubber and everything
Yeah.
else. We have to be patient. And to become a white belt, to go to black belt in our school, it took 7 years. Okay? And so there was another school down the road that just had opened up, and they were offering black belts in 2 years. So everybody started going there because they said, oh, you can get a black belt in 2 years. So you're looking for the shortcut. So when you're looking for that shortcut, guess what? The only person you're cheating is you're cheating you.
Yes.
Because you know what? Those people went to the same tournaments that our people went to. So what would happen is you'd go into a tournament and there's a person who's been a black belt for 2 years and another black belt for 7 years. Just the skills by itself, that person never won. And a matter of fact, they got their nose busted, their teeth knocked out, their jaws dislocated, their rib cage is busted. Why? Because some master turned it into a business of just giving away something and thinking you're going to get instant gratification. And if you want a black belt, just give me $5, I'll give you a black belt.
Please tie this in. I know the metaphor's there. I know we get it.
Right.
Just so that we all really get it, please tie this into business. Exactly how does this show up in business?
Yeah, so when you're in business and you go in there and you want instant gratification, you want money today, you're not going to make it long term because you don't even have the foundation established yet, right? So if you're going, and this is why most people, they come in, when you say it's a get rich overnight type of thing, or you're going to make quick money, you're not going to sustain that. You're not going to make it long term. Next thing you're going to be unemployed. You're going to be filing bankruptcy and all that kind of stuff. So guess what? You need to learn all the things to help you establish all the foundational things, and it takes time, right? It could take 5, 6, 7, 10 years before you start making your money, right? But the thing is, people don't want it because like I want it now.
Yes.
Okay, but you know,
and that
be
causes
patient.
them that causes them not to ever get
Yeah.
there, and then they're always attracted to this shiny object, like a
Right.
moth to a flame. It's like boom, 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 and they never stick to one thing long enough to see that thing.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of the plate spinner, right? So you're spinning this plate, and you go to this one because you want this one to go on. Well, this one hasn't got enough momentum, so it falls around and crashes.
Yeah.
And I know, Veronica, you wanted to share something a little earlier.
Yes, with the habits, the martial arts is a very good foundation. What else did you do as a habit as you were coming into your greatness, into your success in your career? What else was there, such as reading books or perhaps being mentored by someone? What was the extra cherry on top that you took upon yourself to do it and do it consistently? Because that was another habit.
So I was a huge reader of books.
There you go.
So I read so many books. I was almost at a point where if I didn't read a book, I couldn't go to sleep.
How many books would you read a month or a year?
Oh gosh, I would probably, depending on the thickness of the book, but then sometimes, I didn't want to just browse through the book. Sometimes, like most people, they want to get, they get the digital download. I always wanted the hard copy because I wanted to highlight, I wanted to write in it, and I wanted to put tabs in my books and things like that. And I couldn't really do that with just a regular digital book, right? And sometimes you could take a little tiny book, but there's so much in it. It's like reading the Bible. You can go through, whatever, John or Ephesians or whatever, and sure, you can read through it, but if you go to church, there's times where a pastor will just take one passage and the whole sermon is off of one passage. But I would read these books and dissect them and try to figure out why did they say that, and then, extract that. And then I would, put it in there. And then I started to teach people about that, that one little passage that I read. And the more I taught it to somebody, I actually learned more out of it by teaching it than just reading it and processing it for myself.
When did you originally read Think and Grow Rich?
1996, I read the book in 1996. It was given to me by a mentor of mine. And I read it and I couldn't, I couldn't put it down, and I just kept on reading it. And I just kept on reading, kept on reading, and kept on reading. So yeah, it's like if you don't read, what do they say? Leaders are readers.
Leaders are readers. John Maxwell.
Yeah.
Leaders are readers.
That's
readers
right.
of themselves.
That's
readers
right.
of the people, and readers of the situation. One of my favorite books, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
That's right.
Yeah. And I know you have your own book, right? That the movie's kind of based on, and you have a book called Think
and Grow Rich, an Asian Choice is the name of the book. It should be coming out next month, hopefully, just in time for the holidays. And
we're hoping that's going to be in you said?
Yes. So we're actually just cutting a deal. The movie Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, will actually be in Walmart here starting most likely in January. So we have solidified that. And it looks pretty good. And the book will be coming out. So we're going to do the movie release. And then later on, when my book comes out, we're going to be selling the book, Think and Grow Rich and Asian Choice, with the movie. Exactly.
And so that we understand, everybody, what does an Asian choice mean? So Think and Grow Rich and Asian Choice, what's the...
Yes. So, yeah, we can probably take that and kind of show it. Appreciate that. This is actually the cover of the book, the sun rising, and then, so we're really excited about this. But, the Asian Choice is, a lot of people think, the people that you've interviewed, are they all Asian? And the answer is no. I actually, in my book, have Asian people, Black people, Latinos, women, men, Muslims, gay people, Christian people, Catholic people, it doesn't matter. We have everyone. And so someone asked me, they said, why would you put all those people in your book? And I said, because I don't think that, it's your race that causes you to become successful, because success doesn't discriminate. Success goes to anybody who takes those 13 fundamental principles and applies it. It's not just knowing the principles, but it's actually applying the principles, and then you've got a higher probability of becoming successful at whatever you do in all areas of your life. So that's what that's about.
Well, we are super excited to help you and sharing this vision with this book and the movie. I know that I watched the movie last night. I got at least halfway through it, and it was incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. And after we leave here today, I'm going to be watching the rest of it. And what I loved about that, if you've seen the movie The Secret, this is way better, because it's not just someone talking, right? He's got all the experts, the world-renowned thought leaders. It's also a movie, like it's a theatrical. It's very high production value.
Thank you.
And you'll be moved when you watch that movie. So definitely check that out. The next one is beliefs. So the question is, what are the beliefs that you have? So there's two parts: the beliefs that you have about the world and how you are here for the world. So more about what do you believe about the world. And then also, what do you believe about yourself as you relate to the world, specifically in maybe more your service, your career?
When you say my career, that's I don't
so,
know. My
like
career
there's beliefs.
is
You have beliefs in you have beliefs in every area of your life. So this is a study of the model of greatness in you creating an abundant life. And serving others.
That's right.
So what are your beliefs about yourself that you are the person to do that? And what is your beliefs about the world such that you deliver that service to the world?
When I was growing up, I wanted to have all those things we talked about earlier, right? The nice cars, the toys, the homes, and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of a weird feeling when I bought my car. My first real sports car was something called an NSX. For those car connoisseurs, they know what an NSX is. So I bought the NSX, and it was a wonderful car. And then after I bought the NSX, and that was the old version, the 1995, the original version. And so I have the old school NSX. And then later on, I bought a Ferrari. And, when you buy these things, it's great for about a month, and everybody still got the new car smell. People come over, we're taking pictures. It's great. But then I went and bought a Lambo, right? Then I bought a McLaren. And then I bought, and it just continued. Rolls Royce, then a Bentley. And every time I bought a car, it felt good for like 30 days. And after that, all the other cars were just sitting in my warehouse. And they were just, it was great for marketing and things like that, but and we use it a lot of it for marketing, but it didn't make me happy, right? And you would think, well, how could you not be happy, And it was really interesting that I went to my mentor's house, okay, who's 10 times my net worth, and he basically, I'm going to his garage, and he's got a pickup truck. You know, he's got a Toyota, and I said, why don't you have a Rolls Royce, and why don't you have this, and why don't you have that? And you know what he said to me, and it kind of didn't make sense at the time, but it did later on. And what he said to me, he says, my young Padawan. Right, like in the Star Wars. Yeah,
movie.
exactly. Yeah,
That.
you're like the apprentice. You know,
Yeah.
My young Padawan. He goes, I can tell you still haven't made it financially. And I was like, whoa. And I said, well, why would you say that? And he said to me, he goes, when you know you can afford to buy something, you don't want it anymore. And I was like, huh? Really? Like, yeah, like, you know, like who, like which one of us wants to go buy a BMX right now? I mean, you know, $200 bike. I mean, you know, do we have a collection of those? No. You know, you have a different purpose, and I wasn't happy. However, you know, we bought the houses, we bought all the boats and yachts, and you know, and hey, don't get me wrong, they're fun, but they don't make me happy, you know. But where our happiness, and I think at the end of the day, what everybody will want to have later in life, it's not the money. Because there's a lot of people who have money that aren't happy. And there are people who don't have money that are happy, and the people who are with money are unhappy. So truly money is not going to make you happy. It might be a good feeling to have, and it might be the idea of, you know, the happiness, the excitement might come from what you can do with that money. Right? But let me just tell you what makes me happy. Because at the end of the day, like what I was saying is, what you want is to be happy. You know, when most people you look at, they have all these diseases and illnesses and all that, it's because they don't have happiness. They have fear, they have stress, they have, you know, adversities, and a lot of times they've created those things for themselves, you know. And so I love helping people. That brings me happipiness. You know, I have a young lady on my team. Her name is Jamie. When I look at her family and where she was and where she is today, she's a very wealthy, multi-millionaire, successful person. But for a girl who grew up in a little town in Montana with no college degree, her family, you know, there were days where they're going through some of the toughest times, some of the darkest moments. Where they are today, I'm happy. You know, when I look at a girl like Marla, who came here from the Philippines, and she's here, you know, and doesn't have a whole lot of family or whatever, and she's where she was and now where she's at, that to me is fulfilling. Beautiful. You know what I mean? And now I'm happy. So when people say, well, why do you want to do this tour? You want to make more money? What are you talking about? I'm giving away my money right now. You know, I don't need more money, but I want to go out there and help people. And I really mean that sincerely. I mean, if people start to get to know me, they'll realize that I think that's my calling.
Yes.
My calling is I was put on this planet to say, John, the Heavenly Father can giveth and taketh, and He giveth. And what I have today, I don't take for granted. It's a blessing, and I'm going to take everything He's given me and go serve other people with it.
So, paraphrasing, because you did go into happiness, and that relates to your belief. So your belief is to help people, and your belief is that money does not make me happy or you happy. Your belief is that you are here to serve and help people to make them happy.
Yes.
And if that's a tool by which you can do that, that's great. Any other beliefs that you have about yourself, or that you believe to be true about the world, that has helped you specifically tap into your greatness? Like when I asked Les Brown this question, he says, I'm an assassin. I was like, well, what a shocking word that was. When I walk out on the stage, I'm an assassin. I believe I'm an assassin. I'm coming on stage and I'm going to assassinate their problems. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to... So it was just interesting. So what beliefs do you have about yourself that that has you do what you do beyond that, if anything comes up? Because that's great already.
This is going to be a little bit out there for certain people, right?
Love it. That's what we want.
But
and
gosh, I want to be blunt, but let me just say that, you know, a friend of ours, Reid, once said it, And I love the way he had paraphrased it. And I'll paraphrase him. He basically said, what if what you wanted didn't come in the form of money, but it came to you in a different package? So what if, you know what, you said, Heavenly Father, please, I would like to have $50,000. But you didn't get $50,000. But he actually dropped off, a bag with a bunch of resources in it. But those resources are worth $50,000. Mm-hmm. You got your $50,000. It wasn't quite the way it was packaged the way you wanted. And so for me, I feel like the man upstairs is using me to help other people. I'm the resource. People said to me, they go, because I could probably go out there and charge people millions or hundreds of thousands for coaching or mentoring or whatever it might be. I don't know. But, the things that I teach and I offer, I'm doing it for practically free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think he's using me to say, go bless that guy. Go pray with that girl. Go do this, go do that. And I feel like I'm doing that, because it's like almost, I've been very fortunate. I've been very, very blessed in real estate. Mm-hmm. Never lost any money in real estate, right? Never lost any money, lot of money. So I don't know what it feels like. And I always wonder, how come everything good happens to us?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
because you're blessed.
Yeah.
Because you're doing his work.
I am. You know what I mean?
And so, and that I think is a gap for quite a few people that are not spiritually connected. We're not necessarily telling them what they should believe. Mm-hmm. However, at least have a spiritual conversation or spiritual faith in a creator, whatever they decide the creator is. Mm-hmm. For both of us, we're definitely Christian and we're both children of God.
Absolutely.
And maybe everybody is as well in the process. And so, so seeing yourself as a, you're being utilized, which means at the end of the day, it's not really about you.
No, it's not me.
And so if we're doing his work, then it's not about us. Mm-hmm. Then we can get our ego and ourself out of the way and literally be used for a higher purpose.
No question.
And so it's really allowing ourselves to be used for a higher purpose rather than what our ego or self wants.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I'm going to high five you on that.
You know why?
We're going to speak the same language.
Because that's why I keep on saying, you know what? That's why I tell people out there, keep talking about me behind my back. Keep talking crap. Keep stabbing me in my back. Continue to be disloyal. I don't care what you do, what you say. Keep talking about me and watch God keep blessing me in front of your face.
Yes.
Because and he's blessing you in front of their face because he's showing them.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the way.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
This is the way.
Yeah.
This is the way.
That's right.
Amazing,
Awesome.
amazing juice. So the next, we're going to move up with this interview because we only have the 3 left.
Yes.
One more that we want to cover. And thank you everybody for staying tuned. This is amazing. What a great opportunity, you guys, on this amazing, beautiful
And
day
if anybody has a question on there on Facebook Live, you guys can certainly type in the comments what you're learning, or you can also type in any quote or some quote that's your favorite quote, or so far what's been most impactful to you, or what has been a realization or an aha or a breakthrough in listening to this incredible interview. Type it in the comments, and then we'd like to hear from you what you love about this interview so far, what you're learning, how you're growing.
And I love so far what we have, and this particular category hits my heart because it's strategy. It's power, you guys. So we get to hear now what has been the strategies used by John.
So some people look at strategies as, I'm going to use this marketing strategy. I'm going to use this financial strategy. I'm going to look at the market. I'm going to look at the economy. I'm going to look at the timing. I'm going to look at all these different factors. They think of strategies as almost things that they implement. Mm-hmm. But what they don't realize in that we also have strategies that are unconscious. Mm-hmm. And so, a person that struggles making phone calls, right? I've had someone. They see people that don't want to talk to them. They visualize. They hear voices of these people that I'm busy. They already hear the no before they get on the phone. And then they feel like crap and they don't want to make the phone calls. Certain people have a different story or a different tape or a different self-talk going on in their head. And I guess my question to you is, what is the self-talk? What is the strategies going on in your head that gets you to get up and do what you do?
Sure. I think that strategy ties in with my belief system, right? So when I talk to people, I don't look at them like I'm going to burden them. That's my self-talk, right? So some people think, I think I'm going to burden them because I'm going to get them to commit to a monthly payment, right? Versus an investment, right? So I look at myself as my strategy and my self-talk and my auto-suggestion tells me that when I walk up to somebody, for them, today's your lucky day. Like, you are lucky that I found you, discovered you, and we have connected somehow.
Yes.
Because if you leverage me somehow, I'm gonna lead you to somebody else.
Yes.
Right? We may not do some financial transaction, but our relationship was connected by divine intervention for me to connect you with somebody else.
You are lucky. So your brain is saying you are lucky that you found me.
Yes.
That you found me?
Yeah. You're lucky today. Today's your lucky day. I even say that today. Like, I go somewhere and I'm going like a cheesecake factory and the server comes out, "Hi, how are you? I'm doing great." And I'm like, I'm doing great, but you're even doing better. And they're like, "Why?" And I said, "Because you met me."
Wow.
And they don't get it probably.
Yeah, and I was like, it's interesting. People will say, like, I'll walk away, and a buddy of mine, his name is Mark Sofa, and I, we kind of say the same thing. When you meet somebody, and as you're walking away, most people say what? It was really nice to what?
To meet you.
Yeah, right? That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
So I walk up and I go, "Hey, it was really great. It was really nice to meet me today. It was really nice to meet me." Yeah. And then they kind of go,
Yeah, they're
So do they go, "Oh, wow, he's just got such a big ego"?
yeah, exactly, right? But no, they laugh.
They laugh.
That's what they do. They laugh and they go, "That's pretty good." And I go, "No, I'm serious. It was really nice for you to meet me today."
It's like saying you met God today. You
Yeah,
met
exactly.
God's purpose today.
That's right.
You got the blessing through me.
No question.
And so that's definitely a mindset.
Yeah.
And
Some
so
people say it's an ego.
you're
or
seeing, no, in this case, it's not ego. You're seeing yourself as a blessing to them and that they're lucky to have that blessing. And you're calling it forth. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That evokes that you're going to give them something that's going to bless them.
Right.
It also evokes in their mind that they're about to receive a blessing. So it sets the stage. It's actually a pre-frame for what's about to happen. And so as we think, we create. So you're literally creating the blessing.
No question about it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Because it's just like, isn't it bizarre how we met, right? At an event called a Secret Knock that is put together by Reid.
Yeah.
Okay? It's interesting how Reid came into my life and how Greg got into your life.
Yeah.
And we go to an event, there's 300-400 people at this event, and I gave my cell phone number out on stage. And I said, "This is my cell number. Give me a call. Hey, by the way, I'm going to be sticking around for 15 minutes and I'm out of here." Right? And how many people walked up, got my card, called, texted, emailed me? It wasn't all 400 or 500 people.
It should have been.
It should have been, but it wasn't because his calling, it wasn't. He said, "No, today I'm going to work Kaya to come over and you and Kaya are going to meet." Does that make sense? And then you two are going to have this great relationship. And we had an hour carved out in my schedule to talk, by the way. Does that make sense? Yesterday's meeting was only supposed to be an hour, and it was like 5 hours later. And I still had other appointments after my meeting with you that we had to reschedule to tomorrow.
Wow.
Right? And even this evening, right, that I'm scheduled, because there was synergy and chemistry, right? And how is it? We could have met together and said, "God, I couldn't stand that guy. What a waste of time." That dude, I didn't like him. What's his deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brought this lady over to my house. I didn't even know she was coming over. I didn't even like her, and I don't like her energy. But the three of us talked because it was divine. He connected us. And what are you charging me to do this? What am I charging you to do this?
Yeah.
It's absolutely free. There's a whole camera crew.
Yeah.
It's costing us money
Yes.
to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yes.
7 people on this set right now.
Can we give some love to everybody behind
Yes,
the
yes.
camera,
Yeah,
Facebook
right?
family?
Exactly.
Know that it takes a whole team
Thank
to
you.
do what we
You guys
do.
are
And
Right.
we're so honored. Can I share a little bit about what my experience was when I met John? Actually, for the first time, he was on stage at Secret Knock speaking, and he was going through some slides and showing, his life and his wife and his kids and his purpose and his abundance. And I just got an immediate message that you want to meet this man. You want to get to know this man. This man is blessed. There's something he's doing that's blessed by something beyond him. And he's your brother. He's your brother, and there's a lot that you get to learn from him. And I got that. And my whole purpose with that is I come to share, come to give, come to contribute. And of course, I'm here to learn. Of course, I'm going to be your student. Of course, I want to learn. There's things that I get to improve. My abundance thinking, it could be improved. My transformation thinking, I'm thinking that's really, really, really amazing. And so, bringing transformation and abundance together is, I think, one of the most noble things that we can do for this world, to raise the consciousness of this world. And then coming to your house and having that synergy and that feeling, and then you hadn't said anything about God. And then I said, you're a spiritual man, aren't you? And you said, yes. And you said, I'm Christian. I said, exactly. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. And I'm just truly honored. And, we work for the same master, same creator. So Strategies AD, you are lucky that you found me today. I love that.
Yes.
And leadership. Okay, so now we get to talk about leadership. What is the most important leadership trait? Not that you want to teach people. The most important leadership trait that you've used on yourself to help you achieve where you're at now, which we consider good.
I think, I don't know what other people say, but I think it's about servanthood is leadership, servant. And I can tell a lot about people, even like we'll say, okay, we'll bring a bunch of people over here to the house. There's 40, 50 people. We're all standing around, and okay, food is ready. And I'll see team leaders who come over and with their teams or whatever you want to call them, down lines, and they'll come over there. So here's one person who has 5, 10, 15 people on their team, and I'll bring like 4 or 5 team leaders. And I was like, all right, food's ready, guys. Let's dig in. Let's all pray. Let's bless the food, have it nourish our body, and let's. All right, we pray. Boom, and I want to see who's the first one in line. Because you know who I usually see sometimes? The team leaders.
Whoa.
And inside I say to myself, you're the team leader and you're eating first and feeding yourself first.
Yes.
A good leader, to me, would hand out the plates and get all their people in the line first and make sure they eat. And you get the leftovers. Because you're a servant.
Yes.
Talk about givers and takers. What's your philosophy on that?
I think, everybody's wired differently, right? But I think people say, what are some things that I need to work on? I need to be a better receiver, right? I'm a great giver, right? But me receiving, I have a hard time. I feel bad. I feel guilty. You know what I mean? During the holidays and Christmas, I love buying presents for everybody. I want to see the reaction on their face and how they respond and how they light up.
And that's how you receive.
Right?
You receive that.
That's how I receive.
Yeah.
But when somebody goes and buys something from me, I feel guilty. You know what I mean? And I have to be a better recipient.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you know there's no place for that guilt?
Explain.
Meaning that there's no reason for you to feel any guilt.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, and I realized we actually graduated from a program in San Diego. Shout out to ALA, Ascension Leadership, an incredible company. What I learned is that, because I've been there too, when I don't allow someone to give to me, that makes me a taker. Because I'm taking away the gift.
from them.
from them
That's
of
right.
what they would feel
Good.
Exactly.
giving to me. So when we don't allow others to give to us, we're taking away the feeling, the gratitude, the love, the opportunity to give to us. And when we don't allow others, and this is now gets really deep because I'm also studying a book called A Course in Miracles, which is an incredible book. And it talks about when you don't allow others to give to you, you're not, it is a reflection of you not allowing yourself to give to yourself, and you're actually not able to give to them what you could give to them.
That's right.
Because you're holding up that circulation and that flow.
Right.
And I know, knowing you and seeing you, that you probably have a way more circulation happening than you give yourself credit for. That you're allowing yourself to give and receive way more than you're probably even aware of. And yet there's that little thing that's still going on, that little tape that says, when I receive this, this means something.
Right.
And what we've discovered, that usually means it's something between 0 to 7 years old.
Right.
Some association with receiving a gift, and the inner child had an experience about it. And so we can
Yeah.
transform that.
All right.
And all that's going to happen is you're just going to be able to give even more and receive even more and do even more.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's probably just a small little thing in there.
Yeah.
We're by the way, we're all a work in progress.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're all a
question
work in
about it.
progress.
Yeah.
So
You
let's
know,
wrap around this whole thing.
Leadership.
and bring
So
it
let's go
action.
to actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. You know, it's interesting when I receive gifts,
Yes.
presents and things like that. You know, I will say things to them, oh, you shouldn't have, right? You know, and because I don't want to be the recipient, right? And I say, yeah, you shouldn't have. But it's interesting because they're like, oh, like, you know, they don't respond very well to that. Instead, I should have said something like, thank you, I needed this, or I appreciate
Yeah.
this, you know what I mean?
'Cause you would
and
light them
embrace
up.
it, exactly.
You would light
Yeah.
them up. And I'm going to tell you what I think, where I think this comes from, just the study of human psychology.
Right.
When you say you shouldn't have, it ties very much into this model. And this model works, and yet nothing's ever perfect. When you said, I punish myself, I punish myself to get the results, to get there. So what I get is a sense of that one of the attributes that is had you achieve such level of greatness is that you're hard on yourself. And so someone who's hard on themselves and expects such a high standard is typically going to be a person who is hard on themselves in the abilities in receiving as well.
Yes.
So it all is part of the same model of the world. And here's the thing, this might be part of the reason why this model works. So we don't necessarily change it. We might just keep it. However, it is important when your wife, your kids, or someone close to you wants to give you something, that you should give them that gift of what they get to feel by giving you something, because they love you.
That's right.
And
They love
in
you.
the academy, we have given the same tools to our students because this is pretty common, actually. You know, when we feel, you know, because oh my gosh, how much this gift cost? You know, you should and whatever. So the next time when someone gives you anything at all, simply say this: well, wow, I received, and embrace the heart because it's giving you love.
That's right. I agree.
So just say,
Yeah,
I receive,
right here.
I receive, and give the gesture because that's dear to you. Like for example, this happens a lot with women when they receive compliments. They don't know how to take it. They don't know. They even go to a frozen state where like, I don't know what to say. Like, you know, my gosh, you know, your essence is so beautiful in a woman. And some women don't know how to react that.
That's correct.
So what do? We teach them to embrace what they don't see in themselves.
That's right.
And appreciate the love coming from the person in front of them by saying, oh my gosh, you know, I received, that's so beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
Allow the love to come in. I love to come in.
That's right. Good.
All right, last step,
All right.
actions. Actions. When we go to Fortune 500 companies, so we train Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Century 21, Keller Williams, Remax, New York Life, like a bunch of different companies. And we find that when we ask at the beginning of the meeting, how many people here struggle with procrastination? Usually 80 to 90% of hands go up. And so in your case, obviously, you're the exact reverse. You have that sense of urgency, that rigor, you take massive action. So what are the actions? They may be similar to habits, but habits are things that you do every day as a practice, repetition. Actions being something little different maybe for you. What actions do you take that have been the building block of your success and goodness?
So I think when I take action, I'm seeking a specific outcome, right? Or a result. So I want to identify that result. What is the outcome? So every time someone wants to get together with me, I want to know, okay, what's our outcome? If we're having a conference call, what's the outcome?
Right.
If I'm going to meet the client, what's my outcome? Let's be specific on the agenda of the outcome, okay?
Huge.
And then of course, recognizing that I don't have every little expertise to help me achieve those actions. And as a result, I surround myself with people that have my weaknesses as their strengths.
Beautiful.
Okay? So as you look around this room right now, if you guys were all here and you actually saw, there are editors in this room, there are producers in this room, there are camera people in this room, there are audio technicians in this room, and hey, these people, they're not going to become accountants. They're not going to become lawyers.
Right.
They're good at what they all do in this room. But I surrounded the really good people around me to make me even look better, right? You know, and so I'm a very good person at identifying talent.
How do you pick?
Okay.
How do you know?
So I look at, okay, so I usually like to know 7 things. So I usually have, as I've interviewed different people, you know, I want to look at 7 key ingredients, right? And those key ingredients, number 1.
Write these notes down.
Okay.
Be these 7 things. If you want to get hired by someone like John, be these 7 things.
Yeah, so 1. Okay.
I'm going to write them down here.
Is a lot of them have, okay, these are people I've interviewed that have made $1 million or more, okay? So I said, as I'm interviewing, tell me about your life, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I found that a lot of them had 1 or more, okay? Number 1, they come from a military background. So we ask ourselves, why would somebody that has a military background do so well? Because, they understand what?
Discipline.
Discipline.
Or martial arts.
Right? Yeah.
20 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Questionable.
Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, okay, is they're bilingual. So why are bilingual people doing so well? Well, most bilingual people come from other countries. And when you don't have the opportunities in other countries, and we have this opportunity living in this country, we don't take it for granted, right? I think too many people take things for granted. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's funny, I was in New York one time doing a meeting, and I took one of the Ubers or taxis or whatever, and I head over, as I'm going over to the Empire State Building. And I said to the driver, I said, hey, when I get there, what do I do? And he says, I don't know, never been there. And I said, you've never been to the Empire State Building? I said, oh. I said, well, where are you from? You know, I'm thinking maybe he's from Texas or something, right? Just haven't had time. He says, Brooklyn. I go, Brooklyn, New York. And he goes, yeah. So it's like, Brooklyn, New York. And I said, you're born and raised here? And he says, never left the state in my entire life.
Wow.
And I said, but you've never been to the Empire State Building. And so he says, well, sir, where are you from? You know, I was like, think about how many people spend money or save money to go to New York and buy all the, I love New York and all that. He says, where are you from, sir? And I said, I'm from Southern California. And he goes, are you close to Disneyland? I go, 45 minutes. And he goes, oh my God, you probably go there every weekend. And I thought to myself, it's kind of funny. I bought a season pass, but I've only been there once. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the entire year. But then I thought about, when was the last time I went there? It was like 6 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's amazing that we take for granted the things that are right there underneath your own nose. And the people you have right in front of you, and yet you haven't used them and leveraged them and appreciated them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, So that's number 2. Number 3 is they were actually in sales before somewhere else.
Yes.
right? So if you're in sales, there's nothing, sales is sales. Once you learn how to sell, not the features, but the benefits of those things, then you can sell anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Are we writing these down, Facebook Live?
Okay.
Yes, we are. Number 4.
Number four is they had already made $100,000 or more before.
Yes.
So it's interesting that if I walk up to a doctor, right, or an entrepreneur, and I said, how would you like to go make $1 million a year? They're like, all right, let's get started. What do we got to do? But if I talk to somebody who makes minimum wage, and I said, how would you like to make $1 million? They say, what's the catch? Too good to be true. There's no way. What do you mean there's no way? I've got hundreds and thousands of people that are making that kind of money, and you've got this mindset it's not no way. So you're trying, so the other problem with these people that aren't making $100,000 is they're trying to make money, right, or start a business with an employee mentality. So you got to change that employee mentality to an entrepreneurial mentality, right? So number 5. They're the firstborn child.
Damn it.
Right?
Like the third. I'm
Right?
like,
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so why do you think like the firstborn child does pretty well?
Pressure.
Pressure from mom and dad. You're the oldest. You're supposed to set the example, and you need to take care of your brothers and sisters. And you're just like, like, why was I the firstborn? You know what I mean? And later on in life, you start to realize.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister.
Okay, so you're the firstborn.
I am the firstborn.
And you're one of only 2.
Yes.
Wow. So what do you say to the youngest in the family here?
Well, it's interesting because my younger sister was always in my shadow. And so she always had to try to do better.
Yeah.
But because I was so competitive and I was like this, she had to rise to that level of what? Of trying to achieve her goals. And she did. I mean, she's got multiple PhDs, she's got masters, and she's got 2 books out. And, people meet my sister and I and say, you guys are like 2 of the same people in different bodies. Same energy, same personality. I mean, I just, I sometimes I wonder, she's like my little, like not my younger sister, but my twin sister.
Right. That's awesome.
Okay, number 6.
Number 6. So what do we got here?
Military background, bilingual, sales before 100,000 or more before firstborn child.
They were a leader somewhere before.
Sales before and leader before.
Yeah. So in other words, they were a manager somewhere in their department, or they were
supervisor, manager, leader.
Yeah, in some position of leadership
leadership.
before. So, when they come into business, you're already taking that role,
Right.
and so what it means to delegate.
Right.
Right? And number 7 is that they've come from, pretty good, strong family roots.
Strong family roots. And what would you say to a person watching here who loves what you've shared today, who wants to watch your movie, wants to read your book, and wants to learn financial education, awareness, abundance, and wants to come learn from you and work with you in some way, shape, or form, or work for you?
Right.
And they don't have some of these things, because I don't have a military background. I do speak some Spanish and some French, but I'm not bilingual. Obviously done sales before, obviously made that money before. 3rd child, obviously done leadership before. Strong family roots, I would say not strong family roots.
Okay, but you have 1 or more.
I
right?
have maybe 3 of these.
3, so that's incredible, right? So there you have it.
Okay.
So as long as you have 1 or more.
Oh,
of those,
1 or more. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh, all 7 of them to qualify.
No. 1 or
1 or more.
more.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, very rarely do I see somebody with all of those, right?
And you have, so you got a,
Well, I didn't go to military.
but you're bilingual.
Yeah.
Obviously that firstborn, boom. You may have 6 of the 7.
Exactly, right? But now, if you don't have any of these, it doesn't mean you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
It just means you have to go read, think, and grow rich.
Yeah.
And learn those 13 principles.
Yeah. So what do you want to share as we've literally,
So there's 7, right? Complete 7s.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, number 7.
if you were to bundle this in a phrase, like John Maxwell has the 21 refutable laws of leadership. If you were to bundle this in a box and ship it out of even the planet, what would you call the seven things?
I don't know what I would call it right now, but, as I interviewed people and I try to profile them,
Yes.
I want to know, like, how everybody gets successful. Like, that's what I've been doing in my interviews is asking them tell me more about your upbringing and your, how you grew up, your environment, all that.
Yes.
And they will say, well, I was in the military. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting because he was in the military too.
Right.
Oh, I was in corporate America. I was making 6 figures. I was in real estate.
Right.
I killed it. Or somebody would say, I started selling. I said, when did you start selling? And they were like, some of these people were selling ever since they were in kids, fundraising, selling those little dollar chocolate bars.
Right.
Or even candles and waxes and gift wrapping paper and things like that.
Right.
So they were all in sales, somehow or another. But again, where people lacked that sales was because they were programmed to not like sales. That's why I always say we're wired for success. What do I mean by wired for success?
Yes.
Wired because we're created in His image, right?
Yes.
So He did not God Almighty did not go and create us to be losers, to be incompetent. That you don't. You're in His DNA. That's your pedigree, right?
I always say people didn't come out of the womb loser.
Yeah, exactly.
No one came out of the womb, hey, I'm an expression of loser.
Yes.
I'm an expression of bum.
Yeah.
No, we all came in with an expression of our Creator.
Yes.
And we learned, the behaviors. Right, so we talk about nature versus nurture. So the natural us came in with all the resources, and yet were we nurtured? Did we learn?
Right.
Success is a learned behavior.
Exactly.
And so it's been an incredible interview with you.
Yes.
Incredible. So what we have here is the model of greatness. And that model of greatness starts with a vision. We all must have a vision. Purpose. You got to have a purpose. In this case, your vision, he talks about how money works, right? How being respectful works. Purpose. He talked about his purpose and what you want to do with the world, your motivation, your why being your mother and your father, and being able to, change that reality where your dad was having to work and you weren't even able to enjoy food because he was always having to go back to work and back to work. Your emotions, you talked about that sense of anxiousness, that ready to go sense of urgency. You talked about your values, the value that what was installed in you early on, which is you have to be number one, having those standards of excellence. And then your behaviors, you literally behaved in such a way where you didn't allow yourself to sleep. You didn't allow yourself to come back home to your wife and your kids unless you produced. And kind of correlating that to the wild, which is, when a pride is hunting, they don't rest until they've got food to feed the family, right? And then your habits, you must change your habits. Every single day you do this thing, this repetition, or if you don't do it, you miss out on a day on your habit or your ritual, you feel guilty, right?
Yes.
And then, reading books and the beliefs about money does not make people happy. Helping people is what your life is about, and that God uses you for this purpose. And then your self-talk, the self-talk in your head that says, you are lucky that you found me today.
Yes.
And eventually, so the leadership talking about servanthood and the actions, surrounding yourself with the right people that can embody the areas that you may be your weakness, and seeking the specific outcome before you take any action. What's my result? What's my outcome? And
so this is
that is the model of greatness, my friends.
So a perfect recipe, you guys. We're going to wrap this up, but amazing recipe to create what we call the next sensei.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
How do they find you? We're obviously live on your Facebook. How do they find the book again? How do they find the movie again?
You can get my book at tgrasianchoice.com. TGR for Think and Grow Rich. Or you can also just go to my site, johnshinmovie.com, and you can actually get a copy of the movie as well.
30 seconds about the tour happening in next year.
Yes.
Yeah, starting next year, we're going to be visiting 12 different countries. There'll be local cities that we're going to be announcing some mastermind programs for you to get around.
Yes.
Some of the people I've interviewed for my book, people that are incredible thought leaders and mentors and coaches that have technology, they have science, that they can actually help you grow. So stay tuned for some big announcements all over social media.
Don't forget to buy the book and the video, available on Amazon and Walmart.
And if you want to find us at krsuccess.com. You can learn a little bit about us, what we do, and we're so excited about 2019 and doing some amazing things with you, John.
Woohoo!
Thank you for
Fired up,
joining us.
everybody.
See you guys soon.